Welcome to another edition of Hoehmtown Happenings. I'm Supervisor George Hohmann. Thanks for joining us. So we're well into the new year, and we're really looking forward to a number of projects that are kicking off. But first and foremost, I want to speak about a problem that's plagued the town and plagued the area of West Nyack for a very long time. For well over a century, we've had flooding down in downtown West Nyack. We've undertaken a number of projects on our own initiative to try and address some of these flooding issues. We were fortunate to secure over $5 million from the federal government and completed a flood mitigation project several years ago that largely ameliorated the flooding over in Klein Avenue, which had been plagued with historic flooding where houses would literally receive 6 to 8 feet of water. We increased the levee over behind that area surrounding Lake Lotico, and we were able to largely address that issue. We've been working closely with Congressman Lawler's office to secure a commitment, and the House of Representatives has already voted on an award of over $3.5 million for the town to be able to construct a similar type project to protect the residents of Jeffrey Court, which abuts the Hackensack River right near Old Mill Road in West Nyack. And that's a project that we hope to be able to get off the ground within the next year once all of our permits are secured. But we've had a historic problem that's just not being addressed along Route 59 in West Nyack. And this is troublesome because Route 59 is a state road. It's not a road that's typically under the control of a local municipality. State roads are under the control of the New York State Department of Transportation. And it's a highly complicated and problematic area. We've had 8 closures in 2023 and several so far in 2024. We've had over 16 closures in the last 4 years of Route 59 due to flooding. And there is absolutely no plan on the part of New York State to be able to address this area. That's why last month in January, I was proud to be able to organize a bipartisan coalition of lawmakers which included representatives from Congressman Lawler's office, our New York State Assemblyman Ken Zebrowski, our New York State Senator Bill Weber, along with myself and all of the members of the Clarkstown Town Board, where we called for immediate action from New York State to once and for all come up with a plan to address the historic flooding in West Nyack. Now, I know many people will talk about West Nyack and the flooding that's happened there. You can go back and look at in the archives of some of our local newspapers and see flooding in that area over 100 years ago. And just because that's existed, we have new technologies and we have the ability to be able to address some of these issues. Klein Avenue is proof that we can actually correct and end some of the flooding here. The problem is New York State hasn't even looked at putting a plan together. I'm grateful that we've already had some meetings. I'm grateful that we've had communications and that New York State DOT has actually assigned some engineers. And I'm hopeful that once and for all, we'll actually have a solution that will be worked out. It will require a lot of cooperation from various levels of government, particularly from the federal and the state government. Some of the solutions will probably include dredging of the Hackensack River, as well as some road structure changes with Route 59 and an improvement in the culvert system along Route 303, which are currently undersized and dramatically undersized and absolutely need to be upgraded and replaced. Hopefully, if that's probably in the shorter term, that could happen sooner. But the point is, we're trying to work with all of our government partners, and I'm thankful for the assistance of, as I said, Assemblyman Zebrowski, Senator Weber, and Congressman Lawler, all of us working together in a bipartisan fashion. Hopefully, we'll be able to get the ball rolling with New York State and getting this problematic area fixed. In addition, I'm really excited because within the next 30 to 45 days, we're going to be out to bid on our long-awaited final phase in West Nyack revitalization, which will actually completely rehab the streets, redo the drainage, replace the culverts. We'll put in brand new sidewalks, increase the parking, make a 4-way intersection over Klein Avenue by Source Funeral Home along with West Nyack Road. And I'm really excited because this is upwards of a $10 million investment on the part of the town, and it will dramatically improve the streetscape in West Nyack. West Nyack is the last major hamlet that we have within the town to undergo a revitalization. The first one, believe it or not, started nearly 22 years ago, 23 years ago in Nanuet. New City's been completed for well over 12 years, and we're now on to West Nyack, and I'm thankful for all of the assistance we've received with several grants. So I'm looking forward to the work in West Nyack, which is slated to take place starting later this year and will be completed within 12 to 15 months. So a lot going on this coming year within the town of Clarkstown as it relates to revitalization and flood mitigation. And finally, on a future episode, we'll be talking a little bit more about some of the proactive steps we're taking as it relates to the migrant crisis. There's hardly a day or a week that goes by that the Clarkstown police are not getting called by our residents or my office as it relates to individuals that are panhandling and selling wares outside of stores. Many of these individuals are recent arrivals to the United States. They're also living in substandard conditions in illegally converted buildings within the town. We've aggressively gone after this, and we've added several code enforcement officers, and we're working closely with the Clarkstown Police Department and our code enforcement department to be able to address this matter going forward. And I look forward to having a further presentation about this on one of our upcoming episodes. So we've got a great program for you here today. We have our newly elected town clerk and receiver of taxes, Lauren Marie Wohl, fresh off of her first tax collection season here in the town of Clarkstown. In our middle segment, we have the CEO, Executive Director of Keep Rockland Beautiful, Marisa Marrone. And in our final segment, our veteran segment, we have Clarkstown Police Officer and a combat veteran of Marine, Officer Chris Woulfe, who also serves as the SRO at North High School. All that and more on this episode of Hoehmtown Happenings. Stay tuned. Welcome back. My first guest is one of our newly elected officials here in the town of Clarkstown, our newly elected town clerk, Lauren Marie Wohl. Lauren, welcome to the program and congratulations on serving as town clerk now.
Thank you for having me on. I'm very excited to be here.
So this is an opportunity for the people of Clarkstown to be able to get to learn a little bit about you. With that, we're going to talk a little bit about your background, what led you into public service, some of your prior service within the public space, and then ultimately what does the town clerk do? And we're going to try and do all that in 8 to 10 minutes.
Okay.
So tell us a little bit about your background, where you were born and raised.
So originally I'm from Westchester County. I moved over here when my husband and I got married. He was NYPD at the time.
What part of Westchester?
North White Plains.
Okay.
So I moved over here. We moved to New City, and we have 3 beautiful children in the Clarkstown School District. And I kind of just jumped right in, PTA, doing certain things with different charities, activism stuff.
But let's go back to your beginning. You also have a unique distinction. You're actually what's your maiden name?
Fernandez.
Fernandez.
Yeah.
You're actually the first Hispanic female elected in Clarkstown.
Yeah,
correct?
I think I'm the first Hispanic person all together. So
Clarkstown.
It's very, very exciting.
So, obviously, you've been involved in the community with a Facebook page that you were one of the organizers of, and it's that's been a portion of your background. But tell us a little bit about just your involvement in the schools. So you've been involved with the PTA, and how many children do you and your husband have?
So we have 3 children. I have 1 attending Clarkstown South, 1 attending Felix Festa, and 1 attending Strawtown Elementary. I started in Strawtown in 2014, joined the PTA, became VP. Throughout the years then I became president during the COVID. pandemic, which was we had to figure out how to reinvent the wheel to fundraise. It was interesting, but we made it through. So I've always been very involved as a parent and in the community.
And your husband served in the NYPD. How long was he there?
He was there 20 years.
And he's retired. Where's he now?
He's at the district attorney's office.
Okay, great. So history of public service here. And your husband's family, they're very well established in Congress for many years,
Yes.
right?
My father-in-law was the Congress Fire Commissioner for 30 plus years. He has over 50 years active duty. My husband is an honorary member, and I think between their whole family, they have over 150 years in the fire department of service. Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive. So you also had a professional career aside from being a stay-at-home mom. Before that, what did you do?
So I was the director of operations for SEB Security, which was a multi-million-dollar security company across the country. I had started there when I was 16 years old, like an assistant's assistant, and I was there for many years, and I worked my way up. And when the director retired when I was in my early 20s, I took over, and I was there for, from 1996 to 2014.
Oh wow!
So I was there a long time. Yeah.
And then ultimately, you decided to run for public office. But before we get to that, you were involved with kind of developing a Facebook page. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that, and then also working for Congressman Lawler. And I want to zero in on that as well.
So Clarkstown Uncensored is a community page, and we've really built a nice base to help businesses get messages out there, important stuff. And throughout the years, there have just been so many people that have come to me because the page has grown to say, could you help with this? Can you help with that? You know, during the pandemic, it was very useful. You know, you were doing your live streams. I would take those, I'd put them out there, you know, because we had a large variety of people in there to get information out there, to help people, to get messages out. So it really turned into something great. It's huge. We get an average of 200,000 views per month on there organically. So we don't take money. There's no advertising. It's just there for people in Rockland County to kind of dump their stuff on. And
yeah, it's a real communication forum in the Facebook space. So you eventually started to work for Congressman Lawler. He's only been in office now. He's in his second year of his first term. But you started to work with Congressman Lawler. Tell us a little bit about that experience. What was your title? What did you do with Congressman?
I handled constituency services for the Congressman. It was so awesome. I mean, I love helping people. That's why I got into public service. And it was great. I mean, I help people all day long. I think I closed out probably close to 600 cases myself. I probably brought back over $8 million into NY17 myself, just in cases, helping veterans, people that had issues with Social Security disability, the IRS, any federal agency that a constituent had an issue with, they could call that office. We would open up a case and we would go right into the agencies on the federal level and help them.
So what would be like one of the more interesting cases that you worked on?
Oh, you know, there were, I think my veterans is what I really hold close to my heart. I had, unfortunately, a veteran that hadn't been buried in 3 months.
Wow, wow.
And they couldn't bury the veteran because they didn't have the DD-214 papers. So the funeral home had reached out, and I was able to get the papers within a couple of days. And I actually attended the funeral because I wanted to meet the family, and I was so happy that everything worked out. My veterans were a main focus for me. I've helped a lot of them get their benefits. They would be waiting a year and a half, 2 years for their stuff stuck in a queue. I would get their retro checks back for them. I'd help them get their service connection, and I would work hand in hand with the county offices all through NY17. So I really think that was my favorite part, just working with them.
Right, and being part of that team too. I mean, you had an opportunity to go down to DC, I would imagine, as well.
Yes.
And to kind of see things that the average person probably wouldn't get an opportunity to see, working, you know, working in that role, working for a congressman, correct?
Yeah, no, it was a really amazing experience.
Right. Who would be like one of the more famous people that you were able to meet through the congressman?
I think I was a little starstruck when I met Kevin McCarthy because I really adored him. I was like, wow, this guy's really nice, really, you know. So when I met him, I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. But besides that, you know.
It's definitely an interesting experience. So what made you decide to run for town clerk? You had run previously, so
Yes.
So this was the second time you ran. You were not successful the first time. You were successful this time. So what made you decide to run for town clerk?
I love public service. You know, I really love helping people. The town clerk's office it's non-political. It's about helping people. It's about, you know, getting their services, what they need, getting them from point A to point B, no politics, and just helping people. So, you know, as I built that page and became, you know, more involved in the community, people would come up to me and say, you should run for something, you should run for something. And I was like, you know, I don't know. And then I said, okay, I'll run for something, and here I am.
So let's talk, we only have a minute or two left,
Yep.
but let's talk a little bit about the town clerk's office. So what are some of the roles that, or some of the jobs and functions that the town clerk performs?
Yeah, I mean, we do everything from the dog licenses to the receiver of taxes, which is a huge part of it, which we're engulfed in right now, was start the job, jump right in. We do handicap, we do, you know, permits for the building. There's a whole array of things that go on within the office. But like I said, right now our main focus is making sure the taxes are in, making sure people get their bills, you know, making sure that everything is what it needs to be, working with the county, working with the assessors. And then once we get past that, then we move along.
So we're filming this roughly in the middle of January, so we're just into the throes of the tax collection season. But you have a couple of other roles as town clerk. You
Perform marriages,
which
I just booked 3 or 4 of them in the last day or so, and I'm really, really excited to jump in and do that.
So will these be the first time you've actually officiated?
Yes, and I'm super, super excited.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great. In addition to that, you're the official record keeper, obviously.
Yes.
The keeper of the record. You attend the town board meetings. You call the roll, and you're responsible for gathering the minutes and presenting them to the town board for the town board to be
Yes.
able to vote on them. So a couple of roles: receiver of taxes and keeper of the record. You know, obviously, you're looking at public service. What are some of your first impressions in terms of the town clerk's office and things that you're hoping to accomplish there?
You know, accessibility for people. You know, not everybody is computer savvy. You know, when I, you know, talk to a lot of people, and seniors, for instance, they don't want to do computers, you know, and some of them don't have access to computers or internet. They don't understand it. So, you know, making sure that the seniors have what they need, anybody for that matter, you know, helping them out if I have to go to a senior center and, you know, provide services, if I have to stay extra hours because, listen, people work. You know, it's not always a 9 to 5 that they can get to the office. So if we have to, you know, do extra hours here and there to make sure people have that access, maybe on the night of the town board meeting, it's open till, you know, 7 and they can come in, they can get their notary, they can get their handicap, they can pay their taxes, you know, whatever it may be. It's accessibility and kind of widening the spectrum for people to be able to get the services they need.
Those are great opportunities. And again, as the keeper of the record, it's not just the town board minutes, but
Right.
it's any of the official communications of the town and the records to make sure that they're accessible. And then also literally marriage certificates, death certificates,
Yes.
dog licenses, handicap permits as well. You know, there's a whole litany of things that your office does. And you provide notary services as well. So this is great. I want to thank you for being a wonderful guest. I want to congratulate you again.
Thank you, and thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
So if folks want to get in touch with you, how do they contact you?
They can call the office, 845-639-2010, and ask for, if you really need to speak to me, absolutely, I'm available. Give a call. I have a wonderful staff. They are all hands on deck, and they'll help you with whatever you need also.
Great. Okay, so thanks again for being a great guest. Good luck in your role as town clerk and receiver of taxes for the town of Clarkstown.
Thank you. Thank you.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Email from school about the incident today.
Scary.
You know, Teachers like me, parents, we don't always know as much as you guys do about what's going on with other kids.
Half the time, it's rumors.
Yeah, but if you're ever concerned about a friend who's having trouble with alcohol, prescription drugs, anything, you need to tell an adult, someone you know and trust. That can be hard, but speaking up about a problem is what helping a friend is all about.
Welcome back. My next guest is Marisa Marrone, the Executive Director of Keep Rockland Beautiful. Welcome, Marisa.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Delighted to have you on the program. And I know there's been a leadership change at Keep Rockland Beautiful. So let's talk a little bit about Keep Rockland Beautiful and what brings you to the Executive Director job. How long have you been there now?
Okay, so it'll be a year. I started in January, and as a cleanup coordinator, I somehow, I'm not sure how, but I got an email and the advertisement for the position just seemed like it had my name at the top of it. And so I applied, and Sonia Cairo at the time was the executive director, and she had me in, and my interview was about 3 hours long, and I started the very next week. And we had the 2023 GAC, the Great American Cleanup last year. So I was the cleanup coordinator at that time, and we had a very successful campaign. And Sonia has been with Keep Rockland Beautiful for about 16 years, and she just felt it was the time to move on. So
So great opportunity for you there. So let's talk a little bit about your family, your background. What
Sure.
got you into not-for-profit work in general? So where were you
Sure.
born and raised?
I was born at Nyack Hospital, raised in Orangetown. Sorry.
So graduated from local.
Graduated from Tappan Zee High School.
Great, okay.
At that time, I also met my husband, so we were high school sweethearts.
Oh, congratulations.
We moved down to Florida for about 3 years with his job. And after we got married, had my first daughter, we said, what are we doing here? And we came right back to Rockland. We actually purchased the home that I grew up in.
Oh,
so
okay.
my kids go to the same schools we did. They go to the same doctor. So we're pretty much rooted here.
And so before Keep Rockland Beautiful, were you involved in other?
So yes, having 2 young children in the Orangetown School District, I found my way into the PTA. I wanted to just be a part of something, and so started a ladies' night out event for them that is actually still going today. It's the 9th annual this year, and so I'm kind of proud of that. It started with just myself doing it, and every year we have a different theme, and it's one of their largest fundraisers to date. And I had the opportunity to attend Leadership Rockland back in 2017. And so I think just being a part of the community and bringing the community together and making those connections just really made me happy, and it just kind of came naturally. And so then being in Leadership Rockland, and so this for me is on a whole other scale. And I tell everybody now, it's like I just pinch myself because I just can't believe I'm here.
So let's talk a little bit about Keep Rockland Beautiful. So it's a great organization. Tell us a little bit about the mission and what Keep Rockland Beautiful does.
So we orchestrate and coordinate community cleanup events. Where our goal this year for 2024 is to have 30 within the county. We coordinate volunteers. We get supplies donated. We also purchase whatever we need.
And then beyond that, so I mean that really takes place in April of the.
So the GAC will kick off. We actually took it from an 8-week program to a 12-week program to really kind of, especially with the weather, I kind of wanted to give some more time. So the kickoff will be March 30th, and we're going to extend it to June.
Okay. And so these cleanups are community volunteers. You provide support. I know we work closely. Our highway superintendent, our highway department, we work very closely with Keep Rockland Beautiful, and and people will see these folks along the side of the road, cleaning up. They're not criminals, right?
That's correct.
A lot of people in past years, you would see people doing community service, but mandated. But this has nothing to do with that. These are just people that volunteer. Like, who are the types of people that volunteer for this?
So we have, just to go back, the partnerships between the towns and the county, and our sponsors are a huge.
And how does somebody sponsor?
Well, we do have a sponsorship package that will be. It's available on our website now, and they have till March 1st before our kickoff, obviously. What was the other question?
So how, your typical volunteers.
Sure.
So who, I've been involved with cleanups throughout the years, and so sometimes groups will do it, sometimes individuals will sponsor a cleanup. Who are the type of people that really do your volunteering?
Sure. It seems like a lot of our previous. They come back every year or every other year, but it can be from local Rotaries to school groups to baseball to seniors. It's really a diverse group.
Right. I know that in my own family, not locally, but up in Pennsylvania, unfortunately, I lost a niece in a car accident on the Palisades Parkway in 2002, and her family does cleanup and a barbecue in their community in her memory with their local group that does the Great American Cleanup. So so you'll have some of that as well, I would imagine, right?
Yes.
People doing it in honor or memory of other people as well.
Absolutely,
right?
yes.
So if somebody wants to get involved with Keep Rockland Beautiful, how do they find you? How do they get in touch with you?
KeepRocklandBeautiful.org. We have the sponsorship opportunities. We have a membership program, which can further their voice in our initiative for the future of Rockland. We also have, donations. If they would like to make a donation, they can also log in and sign up for our e-blast, which will then really give them all the updates, what cleanups we have, to when they're taking place. The everything, all of our updates would be listed on there. Also, our social media. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. We have some amazing information that we're just giving out daily to really promote, recycling, reducing, composting, everything environmental, to start getting people to think a little differently about how they're taking care of things.
Well, this is great. This certainly was timely, because as this show will air in February to March, your kickoff is the end of March, so people can start thinking about a great way to kind of do a spring cleaning, but on a community-wide level. You also do a great program, the Rockland Plus. Is that still continuing?
At this time, that's been put on hold.
Okay, but that
at least for 2024.
Right.
To get into all the schools right now is a little challenging. But we are in discussion with other environmental organizations on how we could really maybe come up with some kind of program that we can kind of all do it together. Exactly.
Yeah. So that Rockland Plus was a great opportunity. I know I participated as a mentor for very many years, along with our town planner. Actually going all the way back to my time as a member of the planning board here in Clarkstown. And literally you would go into schools, there were folks that would do work with the students in the schools about different areas where they would target and focus, what are some of the sustainable things that could be done there with potential redevelopment or enhancements. The students always came up with some really unique and interesting takes on it. Maybe things that wouldn't necessarily in the real world be able to happen, but at least in the theoretical made some sense. But that was a great program that you guys ran as well. So again, if folks want to get in contact with you, They want to volunteer, they want to donate, they want to organize a cleanup, or they want to become a sponsor, or just make a donation. How do they get in touch with you again?
KeepRocklandBeautiful.org. They can also call 845-708-9164. They could also reach out to me through email at marisa@keeprocklandbeautiful.org.
So Marisa, thanks so much for being such a great guest. Thank you also for taking on this important leadership position. You know, I was an executive director in the not-for-profit world for a number of years, and a C-level employee in a number of different not-for-profit organizations, from Camp Venture to Abbott House. I was the executive director at what's now it's now Bridges. It was formerly Rockland Independent Living Center. So a lot of challenges in the not-for-profit world, and it's great to see somebody such as yourself with a lot of energy and insight, you know, taking on that leadership role. And Keep Rockland Beautiful is a really important organization, not just for the environment, but for building community in Rockland County. So thank you for taking on that role.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
In every family, small conversations can make a big impact. I grew up on tour with my parents. Kind of different, but we bonded over music and we talked. Honest conversations, like when my dad shared his experiences as an alcoholic. Your honesty gave me a sense of integrity that I wanted in my own life.
And I wanted you to know, from someone who's been in recovery more than 30 years now, that hard work is what creates success, not alcohol or other drugs, in whatever you do.
Talk, they hear you.
Welcome back. My final guest is Chris Woulfe, a veteran and an officer in the Clarkstown Police Department. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you.
So delighted to have you here, and thank you first for your service in law enforcement and for the people of the town of Clarkstown. So you're on our veterans segment, and we want to focus a little bit on your service. We always want to honor our vets. I think we've done over 80 shows here in the town of Clarkstown, and we've always have a veterans segment. So thank you for agreeing to allow us to speak about your service. Can you tell us a little bit about your background, where you were born and raised?
I was actually born and raised up in Orange County. My father was a Ramapo detective. My mother was a nurse at Nyack Hospital. You can imagine how they met. And yeah, I was born and raised up there.
And then where'd you graduate from high school?
Pine Bush High School.
Pine Bush? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so far up. I have relatives that live in Pine Bush, and their kids go there as well.
Yeah, it's a nice school.
Yeah, great school.
Yeah.
And I think one of our former officers actually is the SRO up there as well.
Shannon.
Yeah,
Kevin Shannon. Yes.
Yeah, Kevin Shannon.
Yeah.
He was a DARE officer and SRO for years here.
Yep.
Let's get back into your career. So after you're born, you're raised, you graduated from Pine Bush High School. What'd you end up doing?
I joined the Marine Corps.
Okay.
Shortly after graduating high school.
And how long did you serve in the Marines?
4 years.
So could you tell us a little bit about your service? I mean, start to finish. Where you went to Parris Island, I guess?
I did do Parris Island, yep. The East Coast guys go to Parris Island, West Coast goes to California. But in 2002, November 2002, I joined, went to Parris Island for 3 months. I was an infantryman, was my MOS. And then shortly after that, and the follow-up infantry training, I went to 2nd Battalion, 2nd Marines in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina.
Right.
Where I was there with them until 2006 when I got out.
And obviously, this is right after 9/11, and so war efforts are ramping up in both Afghanistan and Iraq, and you ended up being serving in Iraq as well, correct?
I did. At that time in 2002, 2006 it was pretty busy time over there. The operation tempo was nonstop. It was either training or deploying for 4 years.
So could you tell us a little bit about what that experience was like? You did multiple tours in Iraq?
I did 2 tours, yeah.
2 tours?
Yeah.
How long were each tour, a year? Or?
No, not quite a year. The Marine Corps does about 7 to 8 month deployments, yeah.
Right.
So both were about the same, yeah, about 8 months.
All right. So did you do that right after basic or, after Camp Lejeune?
No, it was about a year after. So when I got to my unit, they were just getting back from a deployment to Iraq. So then we had about almost a year workup, probably 10-month workup of retraining, because you get new guys, some guys leave, some guys come in, so you're retraining for another 9 months, then we deployed again.
So roughly when did you go to Iraq for your first tour?
2004.
2004?
Rough, yeah.
And that was a pretty intense time in 2004.
It was, yeah, it was.
What part of Iraq did you serve on?
We were actually what's called the Triangle of Death. We were in Mahmudiyah, Iraq, which is just south of Baghdad. And it was Mahmudiyah, Yusufiyah, and Ludafiyah created this. Somebody coined it the Triangle of Death, and that's where our first deployment was.
Right. Did you lose guys in your unit?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, it must be obviously very, very difficult, and we honor their service as well. But maybe can you tell us a little bit about that experience, serving in combat over in that area? What were some of the roles that you had to undertake? You were an infantryman?
I was an infantryman. I was the radio operator for the first deployment. Each deployment was different, the two. So we went in 2004, and then from 2005 into 2006. And I guess you could say the war efforts had changed at that point, and our mission had changed. There was a lot more combat the first deployment. The second deployment, the rules of engagement had changed a bit, and we weren't so free, which kind of handcuffed us. But it was a busy time, yeah.
Right, and so obviously serving over there for two tours. Then you're coming to the end of your Marine Corps active duty experience. What did you do after that?
I actually joined the NYPD from the Marine Corps. I was getting out in the fall of 2006, and they had a job fair on base, and I didn't know what I was going to do, so I went to the job fair and started talking to some city cops, and they had a test that night. And I grew up around law enforcement. Like I said, my father was on the job, and so I took the test, and I did well on it, and they wanted to hire me then, a month or two later, but I still had 6 months left in my contract, so I deferred, and then I went when I got out.
Right. And where were you assigned in the NYPD initially?
In the 4A precinct in the Bronx.
Okay.
Yeah, I spent majority of my time in the Bronx area.
Right. And then luckily for us, you're with the NYPD for how many years? 7 years, you said?
7 years, yep.
7 years. So luckily for us, you're with the NYPD for 7 years. How'd you end up in Clarkstown?
The commute from upstate was too far, so I moved to Clarkstown. And then somebody told me the test was coming up, and I figured it'd be a better job than the city job. So I took the test and did well on it and got hired.
That's great. And you've now been here in Clarkstown for just about 10 years?
Yeah.
What are some of the assignments you've had here? We're going to get to your current assignment now, but some of the assignments you had here first.
I was patrol like everybody else. You start off in patrol, and then I remember the drone team, and then that's kind of it. It was patrol for almost 10 years, and with the side gig of the drone unit.
Just as an aside, what would be like one of the most interesting calls you were ever on in the NYPD and here in Clarkstown as well?
The most interesting calls? Anything that's kind of complex, where it's not so cut and dry. I can't think of one off the top of my head. So working New Year's Eve in the city was a pretty wild task.
That was almost like the Triangle of Death.
Yeah. But it was like they say, it's what front row ticket to the greatest show on earth, they say. But it is kind of cool to be able to walk around Times Square on New Year's Eve with free reign, as if you get anywhere you want. It's kind of cool.
No, that must have been neat. So fortunately for us, there was an opening as a school resource officer. So maybe you could talk to us about that experience.
Yeah, that was great timing on that part. That spot opened up, but that's been a lot of fun, and right. It's kind of reinvigorated my career, if you will. It's patrol kind of wears you out, and 16 years on the road, and then to get to go to a school where everybody's happy and they're having fun, and it's a different environment, and it's fun to see the impression you can make on young minds there.
So tell our listeners the school that you're assigned to.
I'm at Clarkstown North High School.
And so Chris, tell us a little bit about what does a school resource officer actually do?
They do a lot. I guess the most important part is in today's climate is the security, the response to any threats or anything like that. But it's more than that. It's building rapport with the kids and kind of bridging the gap between today's youth and law enforcement. It's advising. It's a liaison between the police department and the school district itself. We deal with the principals a lot, the assistant principals. They can reach out to us and kind of bounce legal questions off us that they might not want to expose a child to or something like that. They want to teach the kids that we're not here to hurt them. We're here to help them.
Right. And you're also, obviously, I'll go to football games and sporting events. You become part of the fabric of the school.
You
correct?
do. You really do. You see them off duty. You see the students, and they recognize you out of the uniform, and you meet their parents, and they it's a good feeling. Yeah.
Wow. So you've had really a great career. I mean, when you think about it, obviously your military service, 4 years, in the Marines. Did you maintain a reserve status with them afterwards, or?
Just the inactive reserves. So I didn't actually do the reserves as you know it, but after you had to do 4 years afterwards of inactive, where you're essentially on call. You could be called back, and I was called back about a year after I got out. I had to go down to St. Louis, Missouri, for processing, but because of my status as a law enforcement officer, first responders in general, law enforcement, fire departments, anything like that, they're kind of exempt from it because you're taken from the community. But some guys did get called back and had to go back and deploy again.
Wow. And for guys from your unit that you know?
Yeah.
Wow. Are you keeping in touch with any of the guys from your unit?
I do. The ones I was close with, I do, yeah.
Any of them local?
Not too local. Pennsylvania is probably the closest, but Rhode Island I'm close with. Nothing really, not too much here, around here.
So obviously we are delighted that we have somebody of your caliber in the Clarkstown Police Department. I think it's good for our residents to hear that as well. Combat veteran, loads of police, law enforcement experience, NYPD. I mean, typically we'll have officers that will hire after 1, 2, or 3 years in the NYPD. So you had 7 years down there, so you saw a lot down there, and you brought that experience here. Then 10 years on the road, and now you're really helping as part of the educational team from a law enforcement perspective, representing the police department in the town, for our high school students. And that's really a whole different twist on your career, and you bring a whole lot of experience with that. So I'm grateful, with the relationship that we have with our school district, the Clarkstown Central School District. We have 4 districts. We've got great relationships with all 4, but the Clarkstown Central School District is wholly contained within our town. The other 3 districts, East Ramapo, Nanuet, and Nyack, have varying amounts of students within the town. In fact, Nanuet and Nyack, the majority of their students are from our town, but they cross town boundaries. But Clarkstown is wholly contained within our town.
Right.
And part of the great working relationship is a relationship with the police department as well. And you're kind of, if you will, the tip of the spear for that with the town. So Chris, thank you for your service, and thank you for being such a wonderful guest.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Email from school about the incident today.
Scary.
Teachers like me, parents, we don't always know as much as you guys do about what's going on with other kids.
Half the time, it's rumors.
Yeah, but if you're ever concerned about a friend who's having trouble with alcohol, prescription drugs, anything, you need to tell an adult, someone you know and trust. That can be hard, but speaking up about a problem is what helping a friend is all about.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. I'd like to thank my guests, our Town Clerk Receiver of Taxes, Laura Marie Wohl, Marisa Marrone from Keep Rockland Beautiful, and Chris Woulfe from the Clarkstown Police Department in our Veterans segment. Until next time, I'm Supervisor George Hoehmtown, and thanks for joining us.